What if Swoobat was in Gen 1 OU? Now, Swoobat is a Pokemon that has never really seen OU competitive viability. And to be honest, I don't think it's one of those super popular Pokemon that people were upset about it not being very good. Not like Charizard or some other very popular Pokemon like Luxray. But I don't think that matters too much because I feel like if you like Swoobat, you just like it because it has a pretty neat design. And I would agree, it's pretty cool. I don't understand why it's a Psychic type, but I guess that helps it stand out from the other Poison Bat Pokemon. And luckily for Swoobat here, it is pretty good in Gen 1. Not so much because of the typing, because the typing gives you a very crippling Thunderbolt and Wizard weakness, which is not good at all. And what makes it even worse is the fact that it has very... honestly, I want to say mid stats, but could 55 in both defense and special defense even be considered mid? At that point, it'd just be bad, wouldn't it? But luckily for Swoobat, it has really good speed for the time, well above average, and way more importantly, has an absolutely phenomenal moveset. Stab Psychic, Super Fang, Thunder Wave, and Amnesia. Where do I even begin? Let's start with Super Fang, shall we? Even though it's no longer on the viability rankings, Raticate is absolutely still a Pokemon that could see use in Gen 1 OU, has seen use, and that's solely because of Super Fang. It's a good move that can have the HP of anything, and Swoobat here has some significant advantages over Raticate. For starters, it's able to outspeed Raticate, and outspeed a lot of things actually. 114 speed is faster than Tauros and Gengar. And Gengar is really good since while Raticate can't hurt Gengar, Swoobat has super effective Psychic, but along with Psychic, it has Amnesia, both to boost its own special defenses, as well as to hit really hard with Stab. So that alone is just great. Raticate wishes you can do that. But along with that, it has amazing speed and can Paralyze with Thunder Wave? Paralyze Gengar or Tauros? That alone is great, but along with Amnesia, meaning you become faster, and with Psychic, meaning you resist Psychic, and with Amnesia also meaning you could tank an Ice move. Maybe even two if you get lucky and get multiple Amnesias up. But that probably won't happen, because again, the rest of Swoobat's stats are really unimpressive. But that's kind of what balances it out. It outspeeds everything with great utility, but it also just can't take a hit. It's very similar to, I would say, Smeargle, especially in Gen 3, except you don't have Spikes or Spore, but in return, you have a boosting move with a stab option that actually hits pretty hard. So overall, I think Swoobat would be OU, but I do think it would be the weakest Pokemon in OU. I do think it would be worse than both Jolteon and Slowbro, but ironically, a big part as to why I think that's the case would be because those two probably would be the best counters to Swoobat. So that's pretty cool, I think. The last thing I'll mention is that Swoobat, being a bat Pokemon, is a part of the Halloween Generation Jumble. I just need to finish the Gorgeist video, which will be tomorrow, and then I will start making the videos on that. For those of you who don't know, I have a Discord server where I host tournaments based off the what-if scenarios that I do, and Swoobat here is part of that. So if you'd like to check that out, just check the link in the description below. I'd love to have you. But now, let's get on to the replays. Starting with the boy himself. Luckily, since you're faster, it's probably better just to go for Amnesia, so that way Blizz doesn't hurt too much. But then again, Body Slam does do pretty good damage, and has a good chance of paralyzing. But also, Tauros just cannot tank a Psychic once you have an Amnesia boost up. Even without Amnesia, Psychic hits pretty decently. And you're faster, so you can just threaten paralysis immediately, which Tauros I just don't think risk. Because of how much Tauros can hurt Swoobat, it's a could go either way, but I think it's one more so in Swoobat's favor. Now, these next 3 plays are not going to be in Swoobat's favor at all. Snorlax hits way too hard. 1 Body Slam is a 2-hit KO, but does that really matter? Hyper Beam definitely kills, and there's also Paralysis and what else Snorlax wants to use. To be fair though, a worst case scenario for Swoobat, it's always gonna do half damage, which against things like Raion or Exeggutor or Snorlax here, that's pretty good. Now granted, a lot of Snorlaxes use Rest, but whatever. Now here's Amnesialax, and I was curious to see how both these would do once you're getting full special for both of them, but it's really not that interesting. Despite having full special, Swoobat's not really hurting Snorlax that much, so you're better off going for Super Fang, and even then, you're just getting 2 shots. So the only thing Swoobat is really doing is just giving Snorlax a free opportunity to set up, which is the last thing you want. So I think it's just a bad matchup overall. And now we're on to Unwinnable. Now, normally I would say with Amnesia and Psychic, it could at worst be could go either way, because you can always try to fish for special drops. But even with some Amnesias, Ice Beam and Thunderbolt just hit way too hard. And with both you being paralyzed, Swoobat can't really rely on setting up, so Chansey could just whittle it down very easily. Another big problem that Swoobat has is no recovery. And there's Rest, but Rest isn't good because of how weak you are. Not to mention you just can't afford to get rid of it, or get rid of another move, such as Thunder Wave, Super Fang, etc. Swoobat really struggles there. Next up is Alakazam. And I do think it's kinda weird, because Super Fang can always cut Alakazam's HP in half, but I'd still say Seismic Toss is more consistent overall, since you can actually reliably kill with Seismic Toss. That means Swoobat kinda has to kill with Amnesia, and that also means that you kinda need to set up a few Amnesias if you actually want Psychic to kill with the reliable damage range. Could go either way, and I guess something like a Special Drop can definitely help you. But Alakazam's gonna get a lot of hits in, and it's probably gonna paralyze Swoobat, making it unable to really do much. But still, it can still be an annoyance. Next off is Cloyster, and with Amnesia, you don't just get completely murdered by Blizzard, but as you can see there, it's to a 2-shot, meaning your only way to survive is with a Special Drop exactly. Even a crit isn't gonna OHKO. I'd call that a could go either way, but probably one in Cloyster's favor. Now Exeggutor. I was assuming at first this would be just a good matchup for Swoobat, if not great. Because like, look at that, Psychic did nothing. You can only boost your special even more. And Super Fang just cuts Exeggutor's HP in half. But unfortunately for Swoobat, it being in the meta means Exeggutor would run Double Edge way more commonly. And as you can see there, it does about like, it's like a 3-hit KO given the damage range. So it's really just a could go either way, because even if you don't paralyze Exeggutor, you're, again, just like with Alakazam, you're kind of forced to just whittle it down with Super Fang, but then kill it with the Amnesia boosted Psychic. So Exeggutor will have opportunities to, you know, hurt you. But I still wouldn't say it's a bad matchup. Just not as good as I was hoping it would be. Gengar, on the other hand, you're probably fine. Brits are always a big danger, and Gengar could go for Explosion. But here's just a spoiler alert. If Gengar is forced to explode on the Swoobat, which has low stats overall, you won the exchange. So there's no need to really discuss that any further. Just like how there's no reason to discuss Jolteon versus Swoobat. You can't even go for Amnesia since Thunderbolt is a clean 1-hit KO. Which does make Jolteon better than Swoobat in this case. And fun fact, for Generation Jumble Season 4, Jolteon is in fact better than Zapdos. And that's mainly because both Delphox and Swoobat here are just faster than Zapdos. Meaning Jolteon's speed is way more important. Just a fun fact for you. And here's Jinx. Swoobat is not doing anything against Jinx. Blizzard hits way too hard, and unlike Cloyster, you can't expect to kill it with a Psychic, even with the Amnesia boost, because Jinx resists Psychic. So it just wins the matchup very comfortably, and Swoobat can't pose a danger to it. Now, with Rhydon, it could form a danger, but it needs a special drop or a crit. Meanwhile, Rock Slide hits way too hard. So I'm calling this a bad matchup, since literally any chip damage and Swoobat is just gone completely. Paralysis too kind of makes it just dead meat. Now, like I said before, there's not really any ways you can really hurt Slowbro, because both of you have Amnesia, but the difference is that one of you has real stats with Recovery, and the other is using Psychic, which Slowbro resists. You can go for Super Fangs, but the only thing Super Fang does is force out Rest, which Slowbro is probably fine against. And we're not even going to talk about Paralysis, meaning a Swoobat potentially could not do anything. It's just not good overall. I thought at the very least Swoobat could drain out power points, but even with both of you being paralyzed, I think statistically that's just not in your favor. Swoobat just can't do anything. And next up we have Starmie, and this is yet another one where Swoobat cannot do much, and that's because Starmie is barely faster than Swoobat, meaning Swoobat can't go for Paralysis, nor could use Amnesia. And even if it could, with Recover, you're not scared of Psychic or Super Fang. It's just truly an unwinnable matchup. And this one is not an unwinnable matchup, it's against Victreebel, but because of how low Swoobat's stats are, even the resisted Razor Leaf does a 4th, which means you can't even just set up on Victreebel. It can do a lot of damage to you if you're not careful, which I guess that's a... Or actually, is that a win for Victreebel? Or is it just showing how pathetic Swoobat's stats really are? Let me know in the comments below. Even though I think Victreebel is a cool Pokemon, for the purposes of these videos, I am more than happy to slander it. Last but not least, we have Zapdos. And I guess since it's not Jolteon, it's a little bit better, even though Zapdos hits way harder. But it doesn't matter. That's 2 Amnesias, times 3, and only then is a 2-hit KO. You are not hurting Zapdos. And even if you went for a Psychic instead of a Amnesia there and got a special drop, maybe you could have... Actually, no, I'm pretty sure Zapdos survives that too. But none of this really matters too much. You're going to look at this tier list, and you're going to see a lot of things that it struggles to beat. But that's not what it's supposed to do. At the end of the day, it's a better Raticate with an Earthquake immunity, which I didn't even talk about, mostly because the Earthquake spammers, such as Rhydon and Tauros, have ways to hurt Swoobat. But still, an Earthquake immunity is also just really good to have. And considering it's a utility Pokemon, the fact it can boost it with Amnesias and hit things at all, that's just a bonus. So we shouldn't treat Swoobat on how good it is when it's facing everything 1v1. That's not what you're doing. You're either revenge killing with it when something's really low, or you're setting up Pokemon to be revenge killed by one of your other Pokemon. So because of that, despite it not looking good on the tier list, I'm gonna say Swoobat is an OU. Not as good as Jolteon or Slowbro, but you know, it's still there. Is it better than Victreebel though? That I think is a little too hard to tell, because both are kind of doing... Well, they're not necessarily doing the same thing, but both are support Pokemon. So I don't know. Just let me know in the comments below what you think. And let me know what you think about Gourgeist. I'm going to need help with the council tomorrow for that video, because I think I'm going to be looking over every single Gourgeist form, considering each of the sizes do have slightly better base stats. But that should be a fun video. But until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.